welcome back to the channel. It's that time of year again. Today is October 29th, 2019, and today marks 3 years since Day of the Departed aired in America. Day of the Departed is Ninjago's Halloween special, and is widely known as one of the series' worst installments yet. It was received poorly to say the least, and still is known as that today. I uploaded this exact same video looking back on Day of the Departed last year, hence the 2019 edition in the title. And basically, as you did last year, we'll start by talking about the events leading up to the special in the real world, and my own personal experiences and stuff that was happening for me in 2016. We'll be talking about some of the leaked posters and other Day of the Departed info that we received throughout 2016, and how this developed and affected the community's hype. Then we'll be talking about the actual special itself and its content, and why I personally agree with it being one of the weakest installments yet, and overall how the community received it. If you recall, the Lego Ninjago movie was initially scheduled for September 2016, and it was pushed back to 2017 as we all know, and so I think part of the reason Day of the Departed ended up being the way it was, with it only being 44 minutes, had something to do with the movie getting pushed back. And actually, Day of the Departed was not always supposed to be this 44-minute special. Initially, it was supposed to be Season 7 of Ninjago, titled Rise of the Villains, about Yang and him bringing back the villains and such, and it was supposed to be finally Cole's season. During 2016, the Ninjago community would start to get some leaks, such as posters like this one, which is the main poster for the special event, showing Cole going up against all the villains while the other ninja watch him. Not to mention, there's the idea of all these villains returning, and especially villains like Samakai and Kozu, and Cryptor too, who hadn't really been seen in Ninjago for years, and that definitely had excited a lot of fans. Hype would continue to develop, and eventually we got this poster, the Close the Circle poster, which led some Ninjago fans to think that the show might actually be ending and that this would be the last season with the whole Close the Circle thing, and this is generally a pretty misleading poster. In San Diego Comic-Con for the year, this basically revealed the first shots of Day of the Departed and the opening sequence, and also had some information for Hands of Time too, I think. So then by this point, fans knew that Day of the Departed would be the way it was, and that it would not be Rise of the Villains, and it was scheduled for October, of course. Regarding my own personal experience in all of this, I was never really too invested in the community until 2018, but I do remember having looked at some videos, and I definitely was hyped for Day of the Departed. Not crazy hyped like I would be now about a Ninjago season, but I was definitely excited. However, I would actually not get to watch Day of the Departed until a few days later, because that weekend of the 29th, the Chicago Cubs were actually playing in the World Series, and so my father and I went out to see the World Series in Chicago. We saw games 3 and 4, and the Cubs totally sucked it up and lost both of them, but later we would go on to win the whole thing, so yeah, by the way, go Cubs. So we returned back to Maryland a few days later, and I finally got to see Day of the Departed. And you know, I didn't exactly have a strong opinion. During 2016 and 2017, my interest in Ninjago was declining, and I had stopped collecting sets. Of course, I was still watching the shows and stuff, but I didn't even know Skybound had aired until several months later, which just kinda goes to show how my interest had kinda declined. In the years that followed, though, I would definitely start to develop a stronger opinion on Day of the Departed, and I do consider it to be Ninjago's worst installment yet, although Season 11 may very well take that title. So first of all, why is it even important to look back on Day of the Departed? Why is it important to do these videos? Well, for a few reasons. First of all, Day of the Departed had a lot of hype leading up to it. Again, people were very excited to see their favorite villains back and into action again. Secondly, Day of the Departed is the first non-season, other than the pilots, which I personally wouldn't really count since those kinda exist just to lay the groundwork for the series, and are specifically in that format. But Day of the Departed, the series has already been well established, and they chose to do this Halloween special. So this kinda was a look at what any future holiday specials may look like. Third, Day of the Departed was the first Ninjago installment not to be written by the Hageman brothers, and was instead written by David Shane, who filled in for the Hagemans during late 2016 and all of 2017. So this was also a look at how Ninjago would be with different writers. And fourth, there is the community reception. While it wasn't as influential like stuff like the Lego Ninjago movie or Season 11, it didn't leave too big of an impact on the show, but it was still received pretty poorly by the community, and I think it's definitely important to talk about why it receives such a bad reputation. Arguably the biggest problem is, like March of the Oni, Day of the Departed wanted to do too much in too little time, and so it bit off way more than it could chew. The villain fights are way too short, and remember, it took an entire season to defeat them the last time, but yet you have these villains dying in the dumbest ways possible, such as Cryptor literally tripping on a tree branch, or Chen's missile getting fired back at him. These villain deaths are just really dumb, and that is a result of how short Day of the Departed is. And also you have Cole's arc. This was arguably one of Ninjago's coolest ideas yet, starting in Season 5 with Cole turning into a ghost, but at the end I feel like this arc was executed really poorly, and Cole turning into a human in Day of the Departed was just pretty disappointing. We'd only seen really one full season of Cole as a ghost, and it just felt like they ended this arc way sooner than they should have. And so I get the impression that Day of the Departed, instead of trying to tell a good story, is just fan service with the villains being brought back, and an excuse to turn Cole back into a human. And the second problem relates to how much the community was anticipating this. And this is also a problem that Season 11 suffers from. Season 11, I think, has the best concept out of any Ninjago season yet. And to see them just screw it up so badly is really disappointing. And this is similar for Day of the Departed. People love this idea that we would finally get a Cole season and have other villains from the past returning too. Again, people are excited to see Samukai especially back on screen, and he'd been gone since 2011 really. So I think that was definitely something that a lot of people were liking. And yeah, to be fair, it does sound like a really good concept. But no, instead we ended up getting this, and this is definitely not what people had wanted. Of course, there are plenty of other issues with Day of the Departed too that may not fall into those two bigger issues, but those are just the two biggest problems with Day of the Departed that I personally have. And of course, there are other problems too, such as Yang just being really boring, turning Pythor evil again, you get the idea. If you want a full list of every little problem in Day of the Departed, then go check out Yellow Ninja's Everything Wrong with Day of the Departed or something like that. Even 3 years after its release, Day of the Departed is still known as one of the weaker installments of the series, and for good reason too. I mean, I do think that there are a lot of problems with this, and it could have been a lot better. It had an amazing concept, and it definitely had the community hyped up, and for it to be executed like this is definitely really disappointing. So that's gonna wrap up this video. I hope you did enjoy my look back at Day of the Departed and the events leading up to it, as well as my outlining of the community issues. What do you guys think of Day of the Departed? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave a comment down below, and I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say. Thanks for watching. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, share with anyone ever you know, and have a great Day of the Departed.